anticipate in the next 10 to 12 years approximately 8 to 6 million Hispanics coming into the United States and 41 million Asians. You have been the majority minority for 400 years in this country. You have been the number 2 population for 400 years. You're going to get kicked out of being number 2. You're going to go down and become number 4. Now, common sense, even a third grade education would tell you, if you didn't get anything when you were number 2, you all jumped ahead of me, but anyway, you can guess what you're going to get when you become number 4.
President Biden, do you support reparations?
Well, I mean, since I haven't spoken on this, got a chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single time. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 out of our 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America. Systemic racism that has plagued our nation for far, far too long. I said that over the course of the past year that the blinders have been taken off the nation, the American people. But what many Americans didn't see or had simply refused to see couldn't be ignored any longer. Those 8 minutes and 46 seconds that took George Floyd's life opened the eyes of millions of Americans and millions of people around all over the world. It was the knee on the neck of justice, and it wouldn't be forgotten. And it's not white Americans' fault, but just a fact.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest. It meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farm. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. Now, this is what we are faced with, and this is a reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
We are owed $104 trillion on the very low end, plus $735 billion recurring. This number does not include the cost of about 50 lawsuits that were decimated, nor compound interest from 2017 when Sean D. Rochester's book, The Black Tax, was published, nor the cost of Black life, nor the cost of living increases, nor the war on drugs, nor the current day pandemic. The number I'm working with is for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives.
Good afternoon on the West Coast. Good afternoon in the mountain. Good afternoon in the central. Good afternoon on the East Coast. You know exactly who it is, family. Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the Reparationist Perspective, bringing you those ADOCS Hot Topics and making the case for reparations, making the case for weaponizing our vote and socializing our suffering. And today, family, it is a continuation. What's up, Daniel Whitten? Of closing the racial wealth gap. Yes, and a couple more articles that I'm going to dig into with you guys for the hour that I have with you. I'm so grateful to see you. Y'all know I'm being shadow banned. They don't want me running my mouth about all of the punkery. They want me to just go away somewhere and be quiet and just be satisfied with these class-based policies that don't fix race. But y'all know I was born to talk. I was born to go tell it on the mountain. I was born to tell Pharaoh to let God's people go. The American descendant of chattel slavery, I am on my square. Despite the disabling of my sites by Facebook, despite the shadow bans by ScrewTube, I am doing what I was born to do, what God told me I have to do. And I'm so grateful to see you, Brian Johnson. I'm so grateful for you, William Dickens. He's in the movement. Brian's in the movement. Daniel Winton. Yes, I'm so grateful to you listening while driving. Usually, listen here, family, the ADOCS life is happening, okay? ADOCS life is happening. You guys know I just got done with court, right? I'm supposed to be over here at 12 noon. So I had to run and throw on my camera clothes and throw on a little bit of makeup so I won't scare y'all half to death. Very little, though. I don't use that much. William Dickens says, we are the builders of the American economy. Don't you ever confuse it, family. We are the reason all these Mickey Fickies are able to eat while we're tethered to the bottom as the anchor of this country's capitalism. That's not how any of this is going to work as long as ADOCS got breath. We got some of the fiercest comrades and co-hosts up in the building. I'm just so grateful to have all three of you. We're going to get it in. I want you to please like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. This is the rebuilding of the Reparationist Perspective. I lost 4,500 friends and followers when Facebook just disabled me without rhyme or reason. They say that I violated community standards. This is what they've been saying to me since I came for Kamala and joined the movement. All of us are being put on ice. The new Black media is being silenced. We need your help to keep our voices alive. Now, listen, thank you for joining the live. Now, you guys need to make sure you check out the repperspect.com. In a minute, all I'll be doing on ScrewTube is going live. I don't need them to do what Facebook did. They wiped out over 300 videos over there. And I am going to go live here, and then I'll be storing all of my valuable archives over at the repperspect.com. I'll be selling merchandise. I love you, Black and Strong merchandise. I mean, I am really looking to make a full-time living at educating the masses and advocating for ADOCS. I will be speaking nationally and internationally on the subject of reparations. It's getting richer and richer and richer. So please check me out at the repperspect.com. It's not done yet. I got about 10 series for y'all. Oh, child, God just be moving through me to come with these beautiful manifestations of how the God in me wants to use my voice to reach the masses about all of what's going on with American descendant of chattel slavery. So without further ado, let's jump into the topic at hand. I only got 1 hour with you before I have to get back to court. Oh, Lord, the struggle is real. This is why I'm working feverishly to actually, do this full time, because it's a lot trying to manage them both. I've got about 11 emails I got to get out for our ethnicity bill. We've got Senate hearings tomorrow we got to call into. Oh, it never ends, family. When you fight for ADOCS, understand this. The fight is all your life. You were born in the world fighting. You're going to die fighting, because you got to make sure your children and your grandbabies and your great-grandbabies and so on and so forth make it. You understand? Because the plan is to ethically cleanse us up out this piece. This country, the government on both sides of the aisle are seeking to replace us with immigration. We already have 60 million Hispanics, Latinas, as compared to 37 million American descendants of chattel slavery. If you add the Black immigrants who share in, about 2.3 of our 2.4 trillion. Oh yeah, that number's gone down since COVID. Yes, I reported on that yesterday. You have to check the archives. But we've gone from 3 trillion in household dollars to 2.4 trillion. And 90% of us who built all the wealth these Mickey Thickies eat from, share less than 700 billion since COVID. So I'm picking up on closing the racial wealth gap. This is part 2 of that. We had to stop it because, of course, I try not to go over an hour. Oh, Lord, that's hard to do when you're born to talk. But then you got to get to work. So, you really don't have no choice but to wrap it up. So I'm going to continue because we're going to continue this until we finish it. And I may be able to squeeze in a couple more articles I have for you guys, okay? So let's talk about, let's pick up where we left off. Just let me scroll and get there. Okay, let me do a little bit above that. Understanding the racial wealth gap in the context of extreme wealth concentration. Now, oh, wait, I don't think I stopped there. Baby bonds, we were talking about that. Let me go back. Okay, now I'm going to just redo this little part. I'm going to back it up a little bit, and then we're going to proceed. Why we need, I did that part about the baby bonds and why I'm against Darity's number. Let me just remind you guys, for those of you who are huge Dr. William Sandy Darity fans, I don't like the way he's lowballing us. I don't like that all he's seeking to do is to close the egregious racial wealth gap by the percentage point of what we represent in the country. So he's looking around 12 trillion. My number is 104 plus trillion. I tend to want reparations to be separate and apart from closing the egregious racial wealth gap. Why not have both? We need those trillions over multi-generations. You got to figure if it took 500 years for us to get here, it's going to take at least 500 to get us out. And I don't want for folks to be talking about, well, the number's too high, because the Mayor Consortium said you're owed about 6.2 quadrillion, 151 million each. I don't want to hear ADOCS and white folks and immigrants alike come for me talking about the number is too high. That is not my monkey and not my circus. Just like they take monthly installments on my credit cards, I'm glad to receive monthly deposits directly into my checking account, akin to what they kind of quasi have done with our reparations already during this pandemic. I'm happy to take monthly payments. You don't have to pay me 6.2 quadrillion, me and my people, at one time. It's not, I know you don't have it, but see, the longer you continue to drag this out, the debt, it mounts in all type of interest accrues for cost of living increases in the whole 9 yards. Rewind to the top of the show, you'll get to understand how I'm deriving my numbers. I start at a low of 104 trillion, and I tell you what the number fails to include, as based on Sean D. Rochester's The Black Tax. That's where I did my math. Okay, so let's jump back in. Let's start where I left off. A spending-based program of reparations is a moral imperative. It is also an urgent economic necessity. A serious reparation. Now, I'm reading from the Brookings article, Closing the Racial Wealth Gap Requires Heavy Progressive Taxation of Wealth. Okay? A serious reparations investment would provide enormous economic stimulus to the economy as a whole. It would infuse urgently needed funds in households and communities that have suffered from chronic underinvestment. But taxation, and particularly heavy and progressive taxation of wealth, also has a critical role to play in achieving racial equality. This is something they don't want. Now, I'll be commenting in between, right? They don't want our equality. You have to understand how capitalism is structured. It requires a bottom caste. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. told us when he visited India, where Kamala's mother is from, basically that we would be considered Dalits in India, which is the bottom caste. Kamala would be considered white. She is of East Indian Brahmin caste, but she weaponized her Howard University education and her skiwi, aka sorority affiliation, to woo the Black people to sleep, to lull them to the polls. 87% of our electorate has voted for this. Now, I'm not for a trifecta of either party. I have stressed that a trifecta of either party is the death knell for ADOCS. Hence why we are at George Floyd 929. Hence why you continue since the Chauvin trial to see the executions of our people just ramping up. Now, you can learn more about that at my 6 p.m. segment, Monday through Thursday. I do a segment called Ida B. Wells 2.0 series presents anti-Black racism. I cover a myriad of subjects, as you'll see tonight. It's going to be a little more diverse than just the executions of us, but I don't show graphics on that channel at all. We're traumatized enough, but it's imperative that we keep the spotlight on our 500 plus year Holocaust in the country our ancestors built with their lives. Because you see the likes of Biden weaponizing what happened to George Floyd to give Asians protections and $80.5 million for their COVID relief, for their domestic violence, and for their anti-Asian racist sentiment, which 68% is verbal assaults, okay? We die disproportionately from COVID. They don't honor, our COVID relief package. William Dickens, you know what that is. We worked on that together with Triangle ADOS, right? That beautiful COVID relief that Dawn put together, we would virtually ignored. Okay, so please understand that they are weaponizing what's happening to us to give everyone but us the protection that we're long overdue. That's at 6 p.m. on the Anti-Black Racism series underneath the umbrella of the Reparationist Perspective. So I hope to see you back at 6. But let me get back to the text. I got to finish this out. And I've got about a little less than 45 minutes to finish it. I want to make some time to read your comments. Okay, so, but taxation, and particularly heavy and progressive taxation of wealth, also has a critical role to play in achieving racial equality. To understand why, we must look at the relationship between the racial wealth gap and overall wealth concentration. Understanding the racial wealth gap in the context of extreme wealth concentration. Now, why is this a vitally important show? Because you've got a lot of ADOCs who think income is wealth. They think just because they can buy a pair of Jordans or weave their hair or get nails, that they cool. They don't realize they are on their way. We're already third class. We're on our way to being fourth class citizens in the country our ancestors built with their lives. Both sides of the aisle are trying to weaponize immigration against us to make us eat the cost of slavery. Thank you. I can't see you guys who have joined the live, but I didn't give a notice until 3 minutes before I went live. It happens like that, family, because I got to focus on keeping my job too. So welcome to the live. It's not that I'm ignoring you. I can't see while I'm over here reading, okay? So yeah, back to the text. Understanding the racial wealth gap it is now, I already told you, white folks share more than $100 trillion since COVID to ADOCS 2.4 trillion. 90% of us share less than 700 billion since COVID. The other 10%, which is predominantly Black immigrants, share 2.3 2.3 trillion, okay? So it's getting really bad for ADOCS. It is a striking fact that the 400 richest American billionaires have more total wealth than all 10 million Black American households combined. 400 to our 10 million Black American households. Black households have about 3% of all household wealth, while the 400 wealthiest billionaires have 3.5% of all household wealth. Oh my God, it's just a nightmare. This startling statistic illustrates two broader economic realities with immense policy implications for racial justice in America. This startling statistic illustrates two other things too: that white folks killed and stole our wealth. They killed and stole the wealth. You have to understand that when you're advocating for reparations, you are advocating for debt that is owed in the trillions over multi-generations. This is not a handout. It's not welfare. It's not charity. This is what you are owed. And I know that some of my staunchest opposers to me screaming up and down about this are ADOCS who don't understand why they are owed this money. Because these white folks that benefit from all of our wealth did so at the expense of our ancestors' heinous chattel slave labor. Back to the text. First, it suggests the scope of the total racial wealth gap, not the median gap between typical households, but the full disparity between the fraction of wealth held by Black people and their percentage of the U.S. population. This is why Darity needs to be working on closing the egregious racial wealth gap. That should not be labeled reparations by no stretch of the imagination. I told many of you guys I am a litigator and negotiator by trade. I'm in the courts every day, except Fridays when they're closed. And my lunch break. Courts are dark between 12 and 1:30. That's why I'm trying to squeeze in this afternoon show. And the negotiation aspect of who I am cringes at starting at a number as low as 12 trillion. You clearly aren't a negotiator if you're starting at 12 trillion. You'd be lucky to get 1 trillion. You gotta, when you calling it reparations, you gotta go big or stay the hell home. That's how that has to work. Seriously. So I am in disagreement with Dr. Darity when he states that we need to get reparations to close the racial wealth gap. No, reparations is significantly more. And don't tell me that the number's going to be too big and they're not going to give us nothing. We don't waited this long. Why are we rolling over? Do the other groups roll over? No, the number is what the number is. And we're still working on the number. But when you are negotiating, if you're starting at 12 trillion, this country and government will kneel you down to maybe a trillion with some little benefits that they can give with the left and take away with the right to enrich white folks, immigrants, and LGBTQIA. I know how to do this. I'm paid pretty well to do this under normal circumstances. Right now during the pandemic, caseload has dried up a little bit, but it's still heavy. And I'm still grateful for gainful employment. But the bottom line is, what they pay me to do, I'm very good at. So I don't need to lowball this number for white folks to feel comfortable with the number to maybe give us 1 trillion of the 12. No. Back to the text. Okay, so using data from the Federal Reserve's 2016 survey of consumer finances, if Black households held a share of the national wealth in proportion to their share of the U.S. population, it would amount to $12.68 trillion in household wealth, rather than the actual sum of $2.5 trillion. Now, like I said, I read this yesterday. Sorry for those, Brian, I know you were here yesterday. Sorry for the repeat. But I want you to understand this is why we're fighting for an ethnicity bill. We're fighting to be labeled as Black American descendants of U.S. chattel slavery, something like that. Black American descendants of chattel slavery. We've got that bill that we're working on down here, and as California goes, so should all the other grassroots in the nation. Everybody should be fighting to identify as Black American descendants of chattel slavery. Because this 2.5 trillion is a lie. That's Black immigrants sharing in the majority of that. We share, as 90% of the Blacks in this country, less than 700 billion since COVID. The majority of this 2.54 is already down from 3. Okay? It's already down from 3 trillion. And the majority of this money is shared by the top 10% of Blacks in this country. That would be immigrants with a few ADOCS celebrities. The majority of us share in less than 700 billion. And when you flatten Blackness, this is what you get. An assumption that, oh, they've got about 2.4 trillion when the real number should be, 6.2 quadrillion according to the mayor's consortium. And this is why I'm saying this needs to be untethered from anything about reparations. Let that be something else. Because these white folks share over 100 trillion and Black folks think they're doing okay with less than 700 billion. When this administration is failing us epically, as they always have, I didn't vote for this. I will be voting red top of the ticket, blue Congress to protect the over 53% of ADOCS who rely on government assistance by design of institutional systemic racism until they cut the checks in the trillions over multi-generations. That's my square, until and until. And I'm teaching my daughter to do the same. The total racial wealth gap is over 10.14 trillion. Okay, that's the wealth gap, not what we're owed for reparations. So we're talking about closing the racial wealth gap. That's not reparations. Second, the rough wealth parity between 400 billionaires and 10 million Black households also indicates the extreme and extremely racialized wealth concentration that exists in the contemporary United States. A small fraction of Americans hold most American wealth, and they are almost exclusively white. Well, yeah, pretty much. So although white households are on average wealthier than Black households at every income level, the vast majority of the total racial wealth gap in dollar terms is at the top. It's unbelievable. Hold on, family. Thank you for joining the live, and I'm going to fly my banner in the event you feel compelled. What's up, Linda Jennings? YVOC Info. Oh, I love you too. I love you, Angela. Thanks for all that you do, baby. I love us Black and strong. You know I'm here for it. And I thank y'all for finding me. I know Facebook disabled me. And I love that y'all have sent me texts. Y'all have sent me smoke signals. Y'all have sent messages through other people. Where is she? I'm trying to reach her. I can't see her on Facebook anymore. Okay, so here I am, and I'm grateful to you for finding me. And please like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Visit theRepPerspect.com, theRepPerspect.com. My site is under construction. I will be warehousing all of my archives over there henceforth. Les Screwtube decides to do what Racebook did, I would lose over 300 videos. So please, family, check that out, and that's coming to you soon. It's still being worked on, but you can at least see the foundation and see what I'm seeking to do full time to fight and advocate for our people exclusively. Thank you. Okay, so there you have it. So at the top of the wealth spectrum, there is a lot more money and a lot fewer Black people. Okay? So you don't see this figure. The figure 3 shows both of these phenomena in a single graph. I'll show it to you after I finish reading this part. The figure reports the proportion of, let me just show it while I am reading it, okay? Well, how do I do that? Let me, hold on, I have to bring up the graphs in a separate doc because I have to read. And so I'm gonna bring it up twice so I can show you the graphs, okay? Let's do that real quick. And I'm gonna share. Let me scroll and then I'll share. Okay. I'm just going to do an overview of the graphs that have already passed until I can catch us up, to graph number 3. Okay, so let's get into it. Hold on. Okay, so share. Okay, so let's see if it's this one. Did it show you on the right one? Let me see. Hold on, yes. Okay, so I'm going to make this bigger than me. Okay, so you can see what I'm talking about. All right. Okay, family. So this shows the U.S. Black, this figure 1 shows the U.S. Black population by wealth quintile. You see all the other races are in the gray. You see Black is in the blue. Look at us. We have flatlined when it comes to the richest 20%. We have flatlined. Don't have anybody in that group. 25% of us are the poorest. A quarter of our people. A quarter of our people are the poorest. Let's get the calculator and figure that out, family, together. Okay. As you guys know, if I don't get to all my articles, we are just rolling this over to tomorrow. Okay. I don't know that I'm doing a 6 p.m. anti-Black racism segment tomorrow because my daughter has a big track meet tomorrow afternoon. But I will be here with your noon, your midday wake-up call, okay? So let's look at the calculator. So if there's, let's say 41 million, I guess we have to throw in the Black immigrants. Why? Because some of them actually are in these numbers. Not all Black immigrants share in the 2.5 trillion, okay? Not all, okay? So Black immigrants make up 10%. We make up about 90% of Blacks in this country. We are the majority. Let me just deal with us right now. Let me just deal with us. I don't want to deal with them because the majority of them are doing quite well. So I'm going to do 37 million. I'm not going to do the 41 million. Around 42 million if you throw in Black immigrants. Let me do it on 37 million. So 20% of 37 million. Hold on. Okay, times 0.2. We've got 7.4 4 million blacks in the poorest 20%. 7.4 million. Let that sink in. Their ancestors, our ancestors, build all the wealth these Mickey Fickies eat from, and 7.4 million of us are the poorest in the country with 3 Ks that our ancestors built with their lives. So 20% of us are in the 20 to 40% in terms of the wealth quintile. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. Clear. 37 million times 0.2. Huh. I did the first number wrong. Hold on. 37 million times 0.25. 9,250,000 of us are the poorest in terms of wealth. 9,250,000. The other number I quoted you, let me go back. It's not in the history for some reason. That 20%, hold on. I have to pull it back up again. Y'all, I'm working on fumes. The movement takes cat naps. It is what it is. 7.4 million have share in the 20 to 40% of the wealth quintile. Fewer by about 2 million. Let's look at the next one. So if that's 25, I would say that that line right there is, and let's say 15%. Oh my God. 5,550,000 are in the 40 to 60% wealth quintile. Let's do the next number. This is why you can have income. You can have income and no wealth. We're a wealthless group. That looks to be around 10%. 3,700,000 of us out of 37 million share in 60 to 80% of the wealth quintile. And the richest, that looks about, now I'll do a split, maybe 4%. Let me see. Hold on. 148,000. 148,000. Our ancestors built all the wealth, and only 148,000 out of 37 million share in that level of wealth in the country our ancestors built with their lives. Let's go to figure 2. My God, my God. This is why folks are out here on the streets taking up collections when it's time to bury ADOCS. I'm scrolling down to figure 2. Figure 2, shares of U.S. household wealth, Forbes 400 and Black households. 400 of the richest billionaires have as much money as 10 million black households. It's hard to do this and not get mad. This is figure 3. Household wealth by race and wealth quintile in the trillions. Total wealth in the trillions. The gray is the non-black wealth. The blue is the black wealth. You can hardly see the blue. But you can see the gray. Immigrants and white folks. The chart does not fully indicate. Let me just stop. I'm going to go back. I'm going to stop this for now so I can read. Hold on, guys. I'll share when it's time to share more charts. I don't know why we don't get it. I mean, y'all get it because y'all woke. But we need to sound the alarm. That's why I'm over here, y'all. In fact, the chart does not fully indicate how concentrated wealth is by both class and race. Half of the wealth held in the top 10%, about 2/5 of all American household wealth, is held by the top 1% of households. I got to share the screen again. I'm going to share and then I'm going to read from the other one. We got to just keep this up. When we get mad enough, maybe we'll share it. Y'all get mad. If y'all get mad, if y'all get hotter than fish grease like me, maybe y'all will share it and wake some of your people up. I got to keep this here. I just do. I'll read from the other one. Let me make sure y'all can see it while I'm talking. Yeah, y'all can see it. Figure 3 shows both of these phenomena in a single graph. The figure reports the proportion of total wealth held by black and non-black households at each level of household wealth. The dark blue bars indicate the fraction of wealth held by black families in each wealth quintile. As noted above, black households have only a small fraction of national household wealth, and this holds at every wealth level. Thank you guys for joining the live, and thank you guys for chatting. I'm going to read your comments as my co-host momentarily. At the same time, the chart shows how highly wealth is concentrated. This is what these white folks killed and stole from ADOCS. The richest 10% of American households hold more than 3/4 of all U.S. household wealth. Finally, the graph demonstrates the interplay between the racial wealth gap and wealth concentration. Among the richest 10% of households, only 1.9% of these households are black. In short, at the top of the wealth spectrum, there is a lot more money and a lot fewer black people. You think? 1.9%. Let's talk about it. What's that total? I'm getting my calculator. $703,000 out of 37 million. And our ancestors, heinous chattel slave labor, built all the wealth they stole and killed us for. while they sit up here and tell you your reparations needs a study, and guess what? It will not include cash. It will include programs that they give with the left and give away with the right, akin to how they did our affirmative action. In fact, I'll go back to this paragraph. The chart does not fully indicate how concentrated wealth is by both class and race. Half of the wealth held in the top 10%, about 2/5 of all American household wealth, is held by the top 1% of households. Within the top 1% of households, less than 1% identify as Black. Even the wealthiest Black households, moreover, are less wealthy than the wealthiest white households. According to the Forbes 2020 list, the 571 white billionaires who make up 93% of all billionaires have about $2.8 trillion in personal net worth. This is 96% of all billionaire-held wealth, and more than 3% of the total household wealth of the United States. The 5 Black billionaires, 5, who make up 0.8% of all billionaires, have $14 billion less than 0.5 billionaire held wealth. Were Black people represented among billionaires in accordance with their portion of the U.S. population, there would be 80 Black billionaires, and they would hold not $14 billion, but $383 billion. In other words, the racial wealth gap among billionaires is $369 billion. The point is not that billionaires need more billions, or that America needs more billionaires. On the contrary, the point is that closing the total racial wealth gap is exceptionally difficult without reducing the concentration of wealth among a small class of almost exclusively white people. Even equality of total wealth would not be real parity. Moreover, if white people continued to be immensely overrepresented among the very rich, whose economic and political power is both quantitatively and qualitatively different from that held by most Americans, they can buy elections, they can rig elections. When they neutralize us economically, they tether us permanently to the bottom as the anchor of this Titanic, as the anchor of their capitalism. The problem is, listen, they've neutralized us economically. They are coming for that vote. You already see it happening in Georgia, and you see it happening with Biden, Biden, and Obama, with bringing in 26,000 migrant children from Central America whom they can make white, like they did the Irish, like they did the Italians. And spending $141 million per week on these illegals. While telling us HR 40 needs more study. While looking at a George Floyd Act and wanting to take out qualified immunity. Hello, Jim Kuhn Clyburn. The problem is clearly illustrated. If we imagine the wealth gap between Black and white households were completely eliminated for all but the richest 10% of households, This would be an extraordinary achievement of public policy. Total wealth parity between all the Black and white households that have less than 1.2 million in net worth. Nonetheless, because so much of American wealth is held by so few, the total racial wealth gap would still be $8.3 trillion, more than 80% of the total wealth gap that exists today. So tomorrow, we're going to discuss their policy recommendations. That'll be the next segment. We're about halfway through this article, and then I'll be doing the other articles, okay? All right. Let me come see what you guys have to say about it before I close us out. I love y'all for being here. Thank you so much for rolling with your sister. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Brian says perhaps Darity's numbers could be the starting down payment, with the latter numbers being the ultimate goal. Of course, this ought to be bolstered with reparative, therapeutic, mental, financial education programs. Absolutely, Brian. I'm okay with it being a down payment, but not if this is going to be reparations. I'm an absolutely not. Thank you, though, for your comments. I appreciate you want to know. William says they don't know the difference in income versus wealth. And even the income, we're on the bottom. I've shared with y'all about how down here in Southern California, we're 44% of the degree, and with a median income, this is different now. This is from 2004 to 2014, the Color of Wealth LA. Our median income at that time was $53,500 to Hispanics, 17% degree and $50K. We're done. There's 60 million of them in the country now, and only 37 million of us. That's why Biden told the civil rights leaders, stop your whining over government-sanctioned executions. Okay, stop your whining. Vote. Let's get Warnock in. Let's take Atlanta. But you need to get ready to work with Hispanics, because they're going to be your new oppressors. Hello, AOC, who's talking about reparations for COVID for her people and reparations for the kids at the border, the illegals. Anyway, that's defense. Blowing up my phone already. It ain't even 1:30. I got 7 minutes. Brian says, on income being misconstrued as income, unfortunate, pure foolishness. You can't pass nails, hair, and sneakers down for the purpose of building wealth or equity. You got that right. Yes, Linda, you got to start higher negotiations. And y'all got to stop believing that we are frivolously spending money that we ain't got. I just had this fight with my family. You know, I just had this fight with them. Talking about how frivolously we spend our money. What money? We don't make the incomes white folks and immigrants make. We're the highest in unemployment and the highest numbers in underemployment. We ain't making that kind of money. Folks need to cut it out, because they might be doing a little bit better, slightly. They don't realize how poor they are because they're not over here getting educated like y'all. On the numbers, that is. Y'all know a lot already. Lyndon says you've got to start high in negotiations. William says they stand their ground. Oh, Wyvach Info. I love you, Black and Strong. 350 billion liquid. You the truth. Tell her. Much love. Thank you, Linda. William says, check out my show on YouTube. BTMC ADOS stands for Breaking the Mental Chain, the ADOS way, every Sunday at 8:30 p.m. So yes, I will be tuning in. You guys need to go over there and like, share, and subscribe. BTMC ADOS. William says they are starving ADOS out. We need all warriors, soldiers, and we definitely need critical thinking skills. Must build the mind. No difference than the body, because the mind controls the body. Amen and amen. Brian says, I have to read these comments because they're as rich as the content I'm reading. Brian says, it's an understatement to say we're a wealthless group. You better know it, my friend, comrade. William says, if our wealth position do not change, the killing of ADOCS men and women will not stop. You better know it, because why do I teach over here all the time? Dollars bring dignity, and being poor makes us George Floyd. They got about close to 10 million more they trying to kill off. Those are the poorest that I just read off to you of our collective. We're losing numbers while the other groups are growing with the help of the Democrats and the Republicans. William says, plundered our ancestors. Yes, they plundered our ancestors. That's how they got all the wealth. Also us. And we can read it right now. They didn't educate us for no reason. Indoctrination will help you believe that you can reinvent yourself. You can't change your lineage. Never. That's a little bit of that William Dickens fire. Y'all need to tune in. He wrote his station in the chat. Brian says, this is why using Black celebrities to mask the economic failure experienced by ADOCS is so problematic. And it's by design, Brian. By design. They're doing this intentional. And the celebrities are too ignorant of these numbers to know that they're being used intentionally to help keep us tethered to the bottom. Even the wealthiest among us don't hold a candle to wealthy white households. I just read it. William says ADOS is the anchor of American, and this country cannot and will not move forward without lifting the anchor to the top of the deck. The anchor is the anchor. Amen. Linda says Latinos, the face of Chicago Police Department. Oh my God. Patrolling the hood. Majority. Woo-wee. And we don't want to believe we're poor and deny the data that states it. Family, that's my time. It's been rich having this exchange with you guys. I got 2 minutes to get back to court. Know that I love you, Black family, and I love you strong, and I hope to see you back at 6 p.m. for your anti-Black racism report. One last comment. I fear for ADOCS, says YVOC Info, on the job, given that Hispanics and Asians join whites as the management class over Blacks. More egregious workplace microaggressions and hostility, possibly forcing us to quit. YVOC Info, you said a mouthful as we were headed out of here. This is what the problem is. We have no social capital at those tables for hiring. And when we do, they're there to do just as the celebrities are doing, just as the Biden administration is doing. The benign neglect and ethnic cleansing of ADOCS happening in real time everywhere. The roof is not only on fire, family, we are on fire. Please press like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. I'll be over in Clubhouse at 5 o'clock with Tamara Johnson-Shealy, and then at 6 o'clock back on YouTube for your anti-Black racism report. Until then, you guys make it a beautiful rest of your afternoon. I'll see you soon. Peace, love.